thank you for coming out today and watching another episode of Streetpreneur Podcast, the home of innovative entrepreneurs. We go to the street every week and we find you innovative entrepreneurs who are starting new businesses, and some of those are existing business owners who've been in business for years. And we have another special guest for you today. He's an author. He's a 3-time author, by the way. He's also a speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He also is a philanthropist. He's also the CEO of Blackhouse Fashion company. He also promotes positive change through his nonprofit organization, which is the Swain Foundation. He's about developing people. He's about developing entrepreneurs. He's about creating partnerships and volunteerism throughout the community and just serving others. I'd like to welcome my special guest to the show today. His name is Terry Swain. Welcome to Streetpreneur Podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah, thank you. Just tell us a little bit about your personal journey. Tell them a little bit about where you're from and just how you got started in entrepreneurship.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm originally from Alabama, live here now in Georgia, Atlanta. I've been here for over 10 years. But my journey with entrepreneurship started back in high school. I was a barber by trade or by skill because I started cutting my brother's hair. I grew up with 2 other brothers, one older, one younger. Okay. And we used to have to pay, our mom used to have to pay to get our haircuts. Mm-hmm. And one day we actually spent the money that she gave us to get our haircuts. And so we didn't go to the neighborhood barber to get our haircuts, and we ended up, I borrowed some clippers from somebody, and I tried to cut our hair, do the best I could, but
right, mama could tell.
Yeah, she could tell. And so, but I did, but it was well enough to where she was like, okay, since that's what you want to do, I'm going to buy you a pair of brand new clippers, and it'll save me some money, is what she was saying. Yeah. And so I started from there. And I eventually, started charging people in school for haircuts. And after high school, I started my own barbershop and actually started a chain. I actually had 3 barbershops running. And so that's where my journey with entrepreneurship actually started. Okay. And I just really liked the idea of not working for anyone, and working for myself, being able to write my own check, being able to, to have that time freedom and things like that. And so it began to evolve, and I eventually gave my life to Christ. And then I went on to become a licensed minister. And from there, I began to develop the art of speaking and not just preaching. And so I dibbled and dabbled in motivational speaking. I would go to certain youth events and things like that. And so that's where the speaking developed the skill for speaking. And from there, it just continued to evolve. And I've had my hands in several other businesses, but I've kind of landed in a place now where I'm doing the books. I write the books. I do public speaking. Okay. I have the Blackhouse Fashion company, as you mentioned, and also do a bit of real estate investment as well.
Okay. Just what exactly inspired you to write the book? I love the name, Ministry.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the concept, and why now to write the book, and what can readers expect to learn from your book?
Okay, great question. Thank you for that. Yeah, so it originated from actually one of the barbershops. I was sitting in one of the and this is over, like I said, 15, 20 years ago. I was sitting in one of the barbershops, and it was a new barbershop I had opened. And I started thinking about how the business was a place for ministry, because I always had, people knew my background. So, and they knew I was a minister. And some people would ask me to pray for them. Some people would ask me to help them sometimes financially or with other things. Mm-hmm. And so I started noticing that, it was just not a place for making money, but it was also a place for making a difference. And that's why the book is titled Business Street, Making a Dollar While Making a Difference, because I believe that's what we are called to do as entrepreneurs. Okay. But so I was sitting there and I was thinking about how could I merge ministry with the business. And that's where I got the concept from. I was like, I just put the 2 words together, business and ministry, and came up with the word businessry. Yeah. And I just began to write down the concept, and it actually developed into a sermon. or and from there, or speech. And from there, I just kept that principle with me as I continued to do business, as I talked to people about business.
Okay.
And and then it just grew into, from that speech, it grew into a book.
Yeah. What was the hardest part about publishing the book? Were there any pitfalls or challenges you ran into while in the creative process or getting it published, or?
Yeah, not really. I think the hardest thing that I probably challenge that I faced was, sometimes you get what writer's block.
Brain, yeah.
Yeah, but I changed that from, instead of writer's block to just a temporary timeout, because sometimes it's not that you have a writer block, it's just like that creativity. In order for it to continue to flow and to be natural, sometimes you have to step away.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the only challenge, just coming to places where I felt like I didn't have anything else to write, or I didn't want to write anything if it wasn't really meaningful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you touched on earlier about how people would come to you with their problems and certain things. I know you use, at that particular time with being a barber, you use that platform as kind of part of your ministry as well.
Exactly.
So how can you be both successful as an entrepreneur and a servant of the people?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's what the book entails.
The book entails.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
And it talks about that, that some of the ways that we can find a deeper purpose or deeper meaning, or make our business more meaningful.
Okay.
And some of the things that I talk about in the book, or I reference different scenarios. Like, for example, Coca-Cola has this a plant in Mexico, Monterrey, Mexico, and it's for a Mexican brand of Coke. Of sodas that they make. It's called Topo Chino or something like that, Toppuccino.
Okay.
But what they do is, because it's in an area where they don't have clean water, they have a 24/7 tap outside of that plant that provides clean water to that area.
Okay.
And so I was like, wow, you don't think about that when you think of Coca-Cola, but that's the way that people should do business. That, whether they're a large company or whether they're a small company, there has to be some type of ministry or service that is undergirding or flowing out of the business. And so that's one of the ways that one of the references that I use to just show that it doesn't matter who you are, how big you are, how small you are, you can always make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your foundation on the philanthropy end.
Okay.
A lot of entrepreneurs want to give back to the community, but don't know how to give back to the community. Let's kind of touch on some of the ways that you give back through your nonprofit foundation that to help entrepreneurs, and just kind of show them what type of method they could use to go about also giving back.
That's right. So, great question. So, with the Swain Foundation, it was actually developed to help the homeless originally.
Okay.
But then, as we began to go out and help the homeless, we found out that a lot of people wanted to help, and so we started we extended the invitation for people to volunteer. Okay. And so that's where it really began to grow, and more people got involved because, as you said, people are looking for ways. They just need to know how to make a difference or what they can do. And with Swain Foundation, we do through volunteerism, through partnerships. Like, we partner with other organizations, because a lot of times we want to make a difference, but we may not have the resources. We may not have the connections. And so some people can just simply partner with other people who are doing the work that they want to do. Another organization here in Atlanta is Operation Hope. And I work closely with them because I like to also reach our community and educate them on financial literacy. And Operation Hope does a great job of that. Okay. And so we're tied in with them as well, and that's another foundation that people can get involved with and find ways that they can give back. Not only that, the Blackhouse brand, actually I'm wearing the shirt today. One of the shirts is, we actually give a percentage of the profits to organizations that are helping fight the cause of, like, racism, discrimination, inequality, and things like that. So there are so many different ways that we can give back, but whatever our heart and our passion is to help with, then I think that's what we should do. Find ways to give back.
Okay. What are some of the biggest lessons you learned about money?
Oh man,
as both being a business leader and a faith servant.
Yeah, man,
Just give me 2 or 3. I know it's a long.
Yeah. I'll just give you one.
Okay.
Because when even as you asked that question, I was thinking about from both sides of it, business and from ministry,
right,
that money is not evil or good.
Okay.
And that's what I found out. That it's how it's the person who possesses the money, what they do with it,
right,
that can be good or bad. When we look at it from a business standpoint, because a business is in the business of making money,
okay,
we don't necessarily care where the money comes from. Because people, wherever they got it from, they're just spending it with the business, and that's none of our business.
Right.
But it seems like when it comes to ministry, it's more of a taboo with it, of how I remember growing up in church, and sometimes that would be drug dealers that would give money, to their moms who were in church,
right,
and or people who had some illegal ways of making money.
Right.
They would give it to them, and I remember preachers would say that they wouldn't take that money, and I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Right.
That from a business perspective, you don't know where it comes from, and you'll take it. But here in ministry, they want to watch over it and say that it's bad money because it can't.
Right, it's unclean.
Yeah. But regardless of where it comes from, it's the purpose that it serves that makes a difference. So that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned about money, is that it's neither good or evil. It's how you use it.
Yeah, I want to bring up a current topic that's in social media right now that just recently happened. I ain't gonna say the minister's name, but he asked for $40,000.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He told the ushers to close the door and didn't want anybody to leave out. That's a money lesson also.
Yeah.
That you just explained.
Yeah.
Tell us your opinion on it. Was the preacher wrong for doing what he was doing, or is just that's part of the ministry business?
Yeah, well, it's a couple of ways that
different messages went out on social media. Some people are upset about it. Some people are not, saying he's just doing the Lord's work and just. So what's your opinion?
My opinion is this. I think that because I have a lot to say about the way that churches ran, because I was caught up in the religion of church, and there were a lot of things that I was taught and I saw go on that I mimicked. Or I just went along with because I didn't have my own understanding. I just took what the preacher said at face value, and things that have always been taught that we just take and we don't even question. But when I came to a point where I had my awakening and I began to question the things, I got pushback from people. And one of the things is that we've got to stop allowing things to happen without questioning it, especially if we're a part of it. If you're a part of that ministry, you have a right to ask questions and express your opinion. But in regards to that specific situation, I don't have all of the details. I just have, what was on social media. But I do believe that there is a right way and a wrong way to do anything.
Right.
I believe that there are a lot of times things should be explained a lot better in the church so that people can have an understanding. And even when it comes to asking people for money, I think that has to be done a certain way. And with that, I would have to have a little more information, but if he was just raising $40,000 for whatever the cause was, then I think that is something that churches should do if they're a nonprofit that is, using funds from the people.
Just the way he delivered the message.
But close the doors
asking
and
them to do it. You need to donate 100. You need to donate.
No, I don't agree with that.
What to do,
no, I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, people should donate what they have,
and that's what the scriptures say.
Yeah, without the circumstances.
That's right.
On it. So
that's it.
I think it was just his delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just.
Yeah, it could have been. It definitely could have been delivered differently.
Better. That's what most people are upset about.
Yeah.
How he said it, and the stipulations he put on.
That's right. Those type of things that I don't.
Not the general public. So.
Yeah.
Let's get into your public speaking a little bit.
Okay.
Let's kind of touch on that. What separates a great speaker from an average speaker?
That's a good question. I believe it's authenticity.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that each speaker has to find and develop their own authentic self and to find their voice. Because we have a lot of people who attempt to sound like other people, or they see something working for someone and they'll try it. And that's not always good, because what happens is you don't know what type of results that person is getting behind the scenes for what you're just seeing on the front of the scene. So I think that when we mimic people, that we do ourselves a disservice, because we don't give people they don't get a chance to get the genuine gift that God has placed in us.
Okay.
And so I believe that what separates them is definitely authenticity and them tapping in and developing their own authentic self.
Right. Let's talk about inspiration. You being a leader, you inspire a lot of people, whether it's through your nonprofit, through your ministry, and also through your entrepreneurial ventures that you have.
Sure.
How do you stay inspired? What motivates you and keep you inspired?
Yeah.
You do a lot of motivational posts that we see on Instagram, which I think are great because I learned a lot. I watched some of them. What keeps you inspired, that keeps you going and able to put that information out to the world? Your thoughts, your desires, how you feeling at that particular time. What motivates you to keep going?
That's a great question. I would say that what inspires me and motivates me is just doing good. I don't know what it is about, anyone who knows me knows that I'm just a naturally inspirational and encouraging guy. Okay. And I mean, of course, God is the source of that.
Right.
But I just think that that's something that He's placed in me, and it's something that I've tapped into and I've allowed Him to just use. Now, I will say this, that recently I have been developing more of boundaries and limits on how I give and what I give, and protecting, a lot of how can I say this? Really protecting myself, because, as a giver, I have to set limits because takers seldom set limits, and now I'm noticing now as I've gotten older that I just have to be careful about the people I help and how I help, because a lot of times what we consider help may not be help. Okay. And I've run into some situations where I've wanted to help people, and now I'm learning that I have to find out exactly what they need help for. But going back to the original question is that inspiration, it just comes from God. And so it's just a part of who I am. Right. And I stay motivated, just because I'm doing what God has called me to do, walking in that purpose.
Okay. I want to touch on the discipline of men in being able to control their action. There's a famous rapper right now who we all know that's incarcerated. Because he was a great entrepreneur for us on the business end. He made great deals.
Yeah, I'm with you.
For us pushing his brands and other companies. But sometimes your personal desires will overcome your business acumen, your thoughts, and how you conduct business. As far as your personal life and your business life, but your personal life overshadows a lot of the great things you've done, and your legacy will be destroyed. Just give me your take, give me on your opinion of how men need to have discipline, male entrepreneurs need to have discipline in their personal life, and how not to allow that to transaction and allow the devil to come in and overtake.
Yeah. I think that as men, we have to really be on guard in all areas of our lives. Right. And for the gentleman that you're talking about, he has a long run. He has had a long run. Yeah. And we don't know what the conclusion is. Right. But with men in general, when it comes to business, we really just have to keep the main things the main thing. Keep our eyes on the main goal. And again, it actually comes back to businessry. I think one of the things about that particular artist, I've heard him say a lot of great things, about things that he was doing, and him spreading love and things like that. But there's a difference between what we say and what we actually do. Yeah. And it can get muddy when we're doing something different than what we're saying. Right. And so I think that if we keep the main thing, and we stay focused on what the cause and the purpose is that we're in business for. Like for some people, it's to build generational wealth for their family. And so they have to stay focused on that. For some people, it's to to take care of their families. Okay. And just stay focused on that. But I think that anytime we get off sidetrack from what the main goal is and the main purpose is, that's what causes us to be distracted, and we lean into other things that will take us off course.
Snowball out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the boycotting process right now that's taking place with a lot of corporations, such as the Target stores and other corporations that's taking place under the Trump administration. Is this a good time for African American entrepreneurs to come together and focus more on what we need to focus on instead of focusing on another larger demographic of people? I understand you're trying to reach it because it's about, like you said, increasing market share, create more revenue for your business. Is this a good thing, or is this something that we need to continue doing, or do you think we need to just stop and just start back, or we don't care who we spend our money with?
No, I think
get the product and service.
I think it matters. I think it matters.
Yeah, at one time we prospered. You know, we had everything on our own because that was back during the 50s and the 60s. So we know that it can work if we choose to spend money with each other and do business with each other.
That's right.
But that's, like you said, that's easier said than done because a lot of times we don't do that for various reasons.
Right.
So just give me your opinion.
Yeah. So, sure. So at the core of it, like you said, it goes all the way back to like places like Greenwood, you know, where we had thriving black economies, where we were working as a collective.
Yes,
you know, we were doing everything for ourselves. We had our own laundromats, our own movie theaters, our own banking systems, all of that. And of course, we know that, you know, the system, the system did not agree with that because it threatened them.
Economic.
That's right.
Right.
And that goes to show how powerful we really are.
Yes.
If they would choose to bomb and murder and kill and destroy businesses and even whole communities and towns of black people because we were advancing economically.
That's true.
Now that comes back to Blackhouse again, the brand and what it stands for is I believe that it is important that we boycott and that we spend our dollars with our own brands because that builds our community and builds our economy, and it also builds a hope and an optimism in the community, in black culture, to show that we can do it. And like I said, it's been done before.
Right.
But even it gives us control over the black dollar because we are in spaces and sitting at tables where we're making money, as you mentioned, market shares increase for other companies. Right. For example, let's take entertainment, sports. They make so much money off of black culture. And we're just now getting a piece of that. Right. You know, a lot of these athletes, because they've opened up.
NIL.
That's right, the NIL. Right. And I just saw a girl it was a young high school girl. She may have been here in Atlanta. I just saw it on Instagram or somewhere where it was in Lithia Springs in Douglasville.
Okay.
And she's the first female athlete on that level to get an NIL. And so I think that's interesting, but we definitely have to stop sitting at tables where we are not seeing the benefit and they are experiencing it.
That's true.
And we have to build our own tables.
That's true.
I think that's it. So I agree that we should boycott, but on the other end, that has to be, we have to pivot to building our own tables. So even if we're boycotting them, where are we spending our money?
That's true.
We've got to make sure that we're spending our money with blacks, brand loyalty, buying black, supporting black, and just bringing the black dollars back home. And that's really what Blackhouse stands for, is bringing that money back to the black house.
Yeah.
And that's where we'll see our communities thrive.
Yeah, it definitely does that. Group economics.
That's it.
Is what Pinky Cole was.
That's it, man.
Big, and I kind of followed her program.
Yeah.
She's been doing that through an initiative. If a black business need to raise a certain amount of money, and she has her following, and they go out and they go to that business and they purchase. And
I've seen that. I've seen it on social media.
Yeah, so she's been experimenting with that. It's been working really well.
Yeah.
Let's kind of touch on mental health before we close.
Okay.
Just kind of give us your thoughts on mental health and how it affects black men. I know it's women also included.
Sure.
But just mental health in general, based off where we are right now, dealing with the situation. A lot of people are under stress. A lot of people are dealing with depression. A lot of people just giving up. What are some of the things that we can do as far as mental health is concerned to protect our mental health? And just kind of give me your opinion.
Yeah, I think that our mental health, focusing on our mental health is very important. One of the things that I do and that I've adopted into I think we should have a daily routine.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of times stress can be eliminated from how we start the day. You know, they say most races aren't won at the finish line, they're won at the starting line.
Okay.
Because it's how you start that really determines how you're going to end.
Yeah, that's true.
And when we think about even our day, you know, starting your day,
right?
There are some things that have to be done in advance before you start your day. And for me, I have a routine where, and I may not follow all of these to the exact letter in the same way every day,
right?
But I have a time of when I wake in the morning, I have a time of prayer, I have a time of meditation.
Okay.
I have a time where I work out. I have a time where I read. I have a time where I apply breathing techniques. Right. Just things that I do just to get my day started. And of course, you got to wake up early enough to be able to do that. So, but then again, that begins to de-stress yourself from rushing into the day. Because a lot of people rush in, and by rushing in, they're carrying all of that stress with them into the day. Right. And so one of the greatest things that have helped me is the breathing exercises, because not only do I do that at the beginning of the day, but I also do it in any times where I feel I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. I just take a moment, and I've taught this, and I teach it to my family as well, to my wife, to my children, right. And I just tell them, just
take a minute.
Just take a moment.
Right.
Whatever it is, it can wait.
Right.
Take a deep breath, and I walk them through the process of, breathe in,
right.
Hold it for 4 seconds. It's called block breathing.
Okay.
Hold it for 4 seconds. Exhale.
Yeah.
Count to 4. Inhale. And so after doing that about 3 or 4 times, it actually gives your mind the oxygen that it needs to be able to think clearly, right. And it settles you. And so a lot of mental health, we can actually prevent things from happening if we just take on a few practices. But in regards to trauma, past trauma that we're carrying, I believe that we do need to seek professional help for those situations. Yeah.
Is there any? Please give me your contact information,
sure.
Where they can purchase the book, where the book is being sold currently, and just things of that nature.
Sure.
Right.
So again, you can. The website is terrydswain.com.
Okay.
All of the social media handles are Terry D. Swain. So at Terry D. Swain, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram. Okay. And there are links on all of my social media sites that can lead you to the website where you can purchase any of the books that I've already written. Also, they're on Amazon as well. Okay. As well, Blackhouse, it's on Blackhouse Fashion Co. That's what it is, the handle on social media. Okay. And so you can, anything that you want to find out about me, you want to get in contact with me, you can actually go directly to the website, terrydswain.com. Okay. And it has links to all of my social media networks. Okay. And speaking engagements, any events that I have going on, it can all be found there.
Okay, great. Leave my audience, my entrepreneurs, some tips that they can do for their business, just kind of some inspiration. Just leave them about five tips. Principles they can use to apply.
Okay.
Before we close.
Sure thing. So the first thing I would say is make sure that you add an element of ministry to your business. Make sure that your business has purpose. Make sure that it has a foundation of giving back to help other people, because that's going to be important for the life of the business. Because sometimes we get caught up in making money that we don't think about how we can make a difference. The second thing would be to make sure that your business is structured properly, so that you won't have to fall into any of the traps that a lot of people fall into. Mm-hmm. They have a desire to become entrepreneurs and they want to be self-employed, but they don't take the time to read and structure and set up their business the proper way, so that they don't have to worry about certain type of taxations and things like that. Okay. I guess another tip would be to not give up. If it's something that you believe in, sometimes it's so easy to see that something is not working the way that we expect it to, but you've got to stay in it for the long term to really see the results and get the results that you want to have. And so I believe that those are a couple of tips that if an entrepreneur takes those to heart, that they will set a great foundation for their business, and in the long term, they'll see success.
Great information. So you gave me your contact information. I want all my listeners and all my followers right now to follow him, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to his social media platforms. You need to book him for a speaking engagement, let him know. Any ministry that you might need, definitely inform him and let him know about it. Reach out to him. He's a great guy, has a great book. Make sure you purchase that book.
Yeah, make sure you pick it up, Business Street.
Business Street. I love the name. Make sure you got that trademark.
Yeah, I already have.
I love the name. And thank everybody for watching today, for tuning in. Make sure you listen to us on on your Spotify, Apple, any other audio platforms. And stay tuned for next week right here on Streetpreneur Podcast on YouTube. And subscribe to the channel. Thank you.